Most people think India's rise will be decided on land or in the skies. But the real transformation is happening quietly at sea. While global attention focuses on aircraft carriers and headline weapons, India is building something far more powerful, a silent maritime strategy that could reshape the Indo-Pacific balance without firing a single shot. Sitting at the center of the world's busiest sea lanes, India holds a geographic advantage few nations possess, and today that advantage is being turned into strategic influence.
Before we move forward, please like, subscribe, and share Strategic Vanguard, and be up to date with the latest news and happenings from the world of defense and strategic affairs. Tune into our video channels in Rumble and YouTube. And if you want to hear the audio version, please tune into Strategic Vanguard Deep Dive in Spotify.
The question is not whether India will become a maritime power, but how its naval doctrine, partnerships, and control of critical choke points may redefine the future of global strategy. And the most important part? Almost nobody is talking about the full picture yet. India's rise as a major power is often discussed through economic growth, technological development, or diplomatic positioning, but one of the most transformative shifts happening quietly is at sea. The Indian Ocean region, once considered a secondary theater in global geopolitics, is now emerging as the central arena where power balances are being reshaped, supply chains are protected or threatened, and great power competition is unfolding in slow motion. While headlines often focus on aircraft carriers, submarines, or individual weapon systems, the real story is far deeper. India is gradually building a silent maritime strategy that may define its strategic future more than any single platform ever could. This evolution is not accidental. It is the product of geography, necessity, historical lessons, and the changing nature of global power. India occupies one of the most advantageous geographic positions in the world. Sitting at the heart of the Indian Ocean, with sea lanes connecting East Asia, the Middle East, Africa, and Europe passing close to its shores, India holds a natural strategic advantage that many analysts outside the region underestimate. Nearly all major energy shipments and trade flows moving toward East Asia must pass through choke points that lie within operational reach of Indian naval assets. This geographic reality gives India a form of latent strategic leverage that does not rely on confrontation, but on presence, awareness, and control of the maritime environment. Geography, however, only provides potential. Strategy transforms potential into influence. Historically, India's naval thinking was shaped by coastal defense and protection of immediate maritime interests. During much of the Cold War era, the focus remained regional, defensive, and limited in scope. The transformation began gradually as India recognized that economic growth and energy security depend heavily on uninterrupted sea lines of communication. Globalization has made maritime security synonymous with national security. As India's trade expanded and its geopolitical ambitions grew, the need for a blue water navy capable of operating far from home waters became increasingly evident. This shift represents more than modernization. It is a doctrinal evolution towards strategic sea control. Sea control is not simply about dominating oceans through overwhelming force. It is about the ability to influence maritime space, ensure safe passage for friendly vessels, and deny adversaries freedom of action when necessary. India's approach appears to combine elements of sea denial and sea control, creating flexibility rather than rigid doctrine. Submarines provide stealth and deterrence. Aircraft carriers offer power projection and presence, while maritime patrol aircraft and surveillance systems extend awareness across vast distances. Together, these capabilities form a layered approach that reflects modern maritime strategy rather than traditional fleet battles. The rise of China has accelerated India's maritime transformation. China's expanding naval presence in the Indian Ocean, including port access agreements and increased deployments, has altered the strategic landscape. For India, the challenge is not merely about matching platforms, but about shaping the operating environment. China faces what analysts often call the Malacca dilemma, referring to the vulnerability of its energy supply routes, passing through narrow choke points such as the Strait of Malacca. India's geographic proximity to these routes means that even without aggressive posturing, it holds a strategic position capable of influencing the broader Indo-Pacific balance. One of the most significant yet under-discussed elements of India's maritime strategy is mission-based deployment. Instead of concentrating forces solely near home waters, the Indian Navy maintains a continuous presence across key regions, including the Arabian Sea, Bay of Bengal, and beyond. This persistent deployment serves multiple purposes. It enhances maritime domain awareness, reassures partners, deters potential adversaries, and enables rapid response to crises. The emphasis is on presence rather than escalation, demonstrating capability without provoking unnecessary confrontation. Another critical dimension of India's evolving maritime posture is partnership building. The Indo-Pacific has witnessed the emergence of flexible coalitions rather than rigid alliances. India's participation in frameworks such as the Quad reflects a shared recognition among democracies that maritime security requires coordination. However, India's approach remains uniquely independent. Rather than binding itself to a single strategic bloc, India cultivates relationships with a diverse set of partners, including Southeast Asian nations, European powers like France, and regional actors across the Indian Ocean. These relationships expand operational reach while preserving strategic autonomy. The Andaman and Nicobar Islands represent a particularly important strategic asset. Positioned near vital sea lanes and close to the Strait of Malacca, these islands provide India with forward operating potential that few countries possess. Enhanced infrastructure, surveillance capabilities, and joint operations could transform this location into a central hub for monitoring maritime activity. From a strategic perspective, the islands function as a natural observation post, enabling India to track movements without aggressive deployment. Debates about aircraft carriers often dominate public discourse. Yet the real question is not whether carriers are inherently superior, but how they fit within India's broader strategy. Carriers provide visibility, deterrence, and the ability to project power across vast maritime spaces. Critics argue about costs and vulnerabilities, while supporters emphasize strategic signaling and flexibility. In reality, carriers are only one component of a larger ecosystem that includes submarines, surface combatants, unmanned systems, and integrated command structures. The effectiveness of India's maritime strategy will depend less on individual platforms and more on how seamlessly these elements work together. Technological transformation is also reshaping maritime operations. Unmanned aerial vehicles, artificial intelligence-driven surveillance, and network-centric warfare are expanding the reach and efficiency of naval forces. India's investment in indigenous technologies aligns with its broader push for self-reliance, ensuring that strategic capabilities are not overly dependent on external suppliers. Maritime domain awareness, enabled by satellites and sensor networks, allows India to monitor vast ocean areas with increasing precision, turning information into strategic advantage. Energy security adds another layer of urgency to India's maritime strategy. A significant portion of India's oil imports travels by sea, making secure shipping routes essential for economic stability. Any disruption in these routes could have immediate domestic consequences. By strengthening its naval presence and building cooperative security arrangements, India seeks to reduce vulnerability while contributing to regional stability. This dual objective, protecting national interests while supporting collective security, positions India as both a beneficiary and provider of maritime stability. The concept of a rules-based order often emerges in discussions about the Indo-Pacific, but its practical meaning depends on enforcement. Maritime law, freedom of navigation, and peaceful resolution of disputes require credible capabilities to uphold them. India's strategy appears designed to reinforce these principles without overtly challenging other powers through aggressive rhetoric. This balance reflects India's historical preference for strategic patience combined with incremental capability development. Looking ahead, the Indian Ocean may become the defining theater of 21st century geopolitics. As global supply chains shift and competition intensifies, control over maritime routes will influence economic and military outcomes alike. India's silent maritime strategy suggests an understanding that influence does not always require dramatic displays of force. Instead, consistent presence, strong partnerships, technological innovation, and geographic advantage can shape outcomes gradually but decisively. India's maritime rise also carries symbolic significance. For centuries, the subcontinent's engagement with the world was shaped by land-based challenges and continental threats. The renewed focus on maritime power represents a broader strategic reorientation toward openness, connectivity, and outward engagement. This shift aligns with India's aspirations to play a larger role in global governance while maintaining independence in decision-making. In many ways, India's approach contrasts with more overtly assertive strategies seen elsewhere. Rather than rapidly expanding through overseas bases or aggressive patrols, India appears to emphasize sustainable growth, defensive depth, and cooperative security. This method may not generate dramatic headlines, but it builds resilience over time. The true measure of success may lie in the absence of crises, rather than visible displays of dominance. The future trajectory of India's maritime strategy will depend on several factors, including budgetary priorities, technological breakthroughs, and evolving geopolitical dynamics. Domestic industrial capacity will play a crucial role in sustaining long-term naval expansion. Equally important will be diplomatic engagement, ensuring that India's growing capabilities are perceived as stabilizing rather than threatening by regional partners. Ultimately, India's silent maritime strategy reflects a deeper understanding of power in the modern world. Control of sea lanes, influence over maritime chokepoints, and the ability to operate across vast ocean spaces provide strategic leverage that extends far beyond traditional military calculations. As the Indo-Pacific becomes the center of global competition, India's geographic advantage and evolving doctrine may transform it into one of the most influential maritime powers of the century. The transformation may appear gradual and understated, but its long-term implications could reshape not only regional dynamics, but the entire architecture of global strategy.
Thank you for joining us on this strategic Vanguard deep dive. If you found value in this analysis, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. We bring you fresh deep dives every Wednesday and Saturday here on YouTube and Rumble, and you can also catch the audio versions on Spotify and Amazon Music. Just search for Strategic Vanguard Deep Dive. For more insights, articles, and discussions, subscribe to our blog at strategicvanguard.com. Your support helps us grow and bring you more in-depth analysis on defense, geopolitics, and strategy. Until next time, stay informed, stay strategic.